We've been raised by people doing the best that they could with what they had to work with. There's no judgment in it, but our world is a concrete, knock on wood kind of world. But what we're now being drawn to, and our guides are pulling us to, is a knowing of the moreness, that there is a whole other world at our disposal. There are powers at play that we can utilize in our world. And hi, I'm Kelly Bowker, and here I am on Your Superior Self.
Friggin' awesome. Kelly Bowker on the show. This is so fantastic. I love your energy. I had to have you back. So much praise for our live that we did as far as your attraction, right? Like you have this energetic attraction about yourself. I love your flannel, by the way. It's very unique to you. I love red.
Thank you.
Kelly, thank you for taking the time.
Oh, it's my pleasure, Trey. You have wonderful energy. I love spending time with you.
Kelly Bowker. Oh, man, your journey is just so fascinating. So let's give the audience some context about how you've come to be this medium, this channeler, this, I guess, translator of light language. And yeah, let's just give them some context about that, where you started from.
Well, I live in a small town in Maine, in mid-Maine, basically, and I've lived within 5 miles of the same place my whole life. I'm a registered nurse. I taught the certified nursing assistant program for 23 years, working with juniors and seniors in high school, which was a treat. And I did love it. Absolutely did love it. And I think I would say that I've been a spiritual seeker my whole life. I've always had a really broad sense that there's more. There's just more, and I've always been seeking what the more is. And as a young person, I was born to a mom who was just getting ready to put her last child into kindergarten, could see a little bit of freedom on the horizon, and finds out she's pregnant. And she was devastated. And she and I were very close. My mom was a beautiful lady, but she was not happy that she got pregnant, and she was praying for a miscarriage. She was hoping that I wouldn't be born. And I think that energy and coming into that energy as a young one created within me a feeling of like longing to belong. I think I always had a feeling in my heart that I wasn't wanted at that stage. And it wasn't very much fun, I can tell you. And I didn't have a horrible childhood, but I definitely had a feeling of not being where I was supposed to be, is kind of what it felt like. And so I was reaching for love. I was reaching for being wanted. And when I would say my prayers, I would feel that connection. The Holy Spirit and Jesus. And the only thing that was even available in my small town was a Baptist church. And mom and daddy didn't go to church, but I would find rides, because when they talked about the love, when they talked about the oneness and the connection, I could feel that in my heart. I would feel that expansion. And it was awesome. It was awesome. I knew I belonged somewhere. I knew that was where I was truly wanted. And then they'd go on to tell me that all my Jehovah's Witness friends were going to hell, and all my Catholic friends were going to hell, and that if I drank or I swore, I was making Jesus cry, and all this crap. And so I was certainly conflicted, because and I don't mean to be disrespectful for anybody who is on that path, because there's no wrong path. I know that 100%. There is no wrong path. If you can feel that connection in your heart, that expansiveness in your heart to the greater knowing, then you're on the right path. It doesn't matter what name it's called. It has no bearing on it at all. But for me, the dogma didn't work. I was too much of a rebellious soul. I got married quite young, and Michael too had a rebellious soul, and he didn't want the life of going to church on Sunday and his wife, you know, doing all the stuff that one would do, living that life, or actually not doing the stuff. He wanted me to have cocktail hour with him. and so yeah, it just wasn't something that was going to work. So I basically lived my life with my own connection to God, and always relied on it, always fell back to it. I can remember Mike and I traveling between Maine and Florida, and we had a pickup camper, and I was scared. Our pickup camper the door didn't lock. We didn't have any money. We were so poor, and we just pulled into a truck stop and was going to sleep. And I was so scared. And I remember picturing God's hands like this, holding the truck and the camper. And I went to bed picturing God's hands, knowing that I was being held in those big, strong hands, and that I was okay. And that's how I lived my life. That's how I lived my life. In my, probably 20 something years ago, I found the law of attraction, probably about when most of your listeners did, when The Secret came out. And I it resonated completely. I've always believed in the power of positive thought and the power of positive energy, but it left me lacking. I missed praying. I missed that personal relationship that I had with God. And I was a bit confused, because if I'm completely creating my own life, then who would I pray to? I remember, and I'm, that left brain egoic self. It's like, you got to do it right. I don't want to pray to the wrong thing. And so I would be in my head, kind of short circuiting that beautiful connection. So I missed that connection. I really missed that connection. And fast forward to probably 5 years ago is when I finally started to meditate, because now looking back, I know my guides started to turn the heat up on the burner a little bit. I started to be sickly. I got a diagnosis of rheumatoid arthritis. I was having lots of respiratory things happening. And mentally, I was starting to cycle down too. I wasn't that voice that's always been in my head that's been so positive and happy all my life, started to be grumpy. And I knew I wasn't okay. And so I reached out to a counselor that I've gone to at different times in my life, for very short periods of time. And she just was an angel in my life, absolutely. And she kind of helped me figure out what I was going through in my mind. But part of that was, she said that she wanted me to look up what it meant to be an empath. And I didn't know what that meant. I was probably 58 or 9 when she told me that. And it dove me into the metaphysical side of the internet, and the Abraham Hicks and the law of attraction time had finally released me from the dogma of being afraid of meditation and being afraid of, all the metaphysical things that are out there for us. And the cork come out of the genie's bottle, and that was in November of 21. In January of 22, I channeled for the first time. In March, I did my first mediumship with evidence. And in June, light language came through. And here I am.
What would the old Kelly, right? Like the one that grew up in that dogma, like what would she say if she knew that the Kelly today was involved in channeling mediumship and light language?
I don't think there was ever a time in my life, Trey, when I would have cast anyone into hell. I never had that belief. I guess I held it as a belief because I was supposed to, but it never resonated in my heart. So I don't think there was ever a time in my life when I would have judged harshly somebody being on a path that, especially that is so full of love. Now, if you were to say, what would the people in that church say about me now? That's a different. There's only a couple of people in my life that I can feel a distance. I just know that they're not okay with what I'm doing. I know that even though they love me and they have always enjoyed my conversation and all that kind of stuff, they're doing this kind of a thing because they're afraid. They think I've gone to the devil. They think that I'm being possessed. It's sad, terribly,
Sure.
terribly sad.
Sure. That's just where they're at
It's just
consciously,
where
right?
they're at. That's right.
Until they can open themselves up. Like you were able to open yourself up when you started researching empathy and what that truly means, and feeling other people's energy, and kind of setting your own boundaries. And what was the literature or the books that when you read that, right, like started your curiosity? Was there anything that was associated with that empathy?
Well, um, I really and truly only, I think I found a quiz. Are you an empath? And I think it was like 35 questions, and it said if you had 15 or more, you were an empath. And I think I got 32 yeses. And so I knew that I was an empath. That really was about all that I paid much attention to on that side. Um, there was a young lady in spirit who had me by the short hairs of the back of the neck, pulling me along. And I think she, man, my jaw's starting to shiver. So I just want to
What
be
does that mean
respectful.
when your jaw starts to shiver? What is that?
It means the guides are right here, the spirits right here. They're right, they're present and giving me their thumbs up, basically, is what it means.
So being an empath for you has allowed you to feel other people's energy here in this physical reality, but also in the non-physical as well.
I don't really think that being an empath has much to do with any of it. I think it just was a catalyst in time that allowed me to go into the metaphysical side of the internet. I really don't think it has. I mean, I really don't know. It's nothing that I know much about, to be honest. I know that to be an empath means that I thought that everyone experienced the world the way I did, and I've learned that that's not true. That a lot of the emotions that I feel are from other people. It's not even my emotions. But I haven't put much learning and thought, because the rest of this all just went, so there I haven't done much study on that, to be honest. But what I did start to find, what I was led to, was the mediumship piece, which now you said at the beginning something about me being a medium. I'm actually I'm not moving forward with being a practicing medium any longer, because I'm being led by my guides and by spirit, and it isn't part of my journey right now. And it was an important part when it was part, because it gave me the evidence. Being an evidential medium means that you bring through pieces of information from someone across the veil that I would have no way to know. You put something in the freezer this morning. You made mud pies on the front step. You used old fashioned roller skates. These kinds of pieces of just information that would drop into my mind that would bring through evidence. But I have sense. I know that my mission is around the wisdom of my guides, the wisdom that I can bring through, and light language, the blessing of light language in this dimension, bringing light language through for people is what I'm here to do.
Sure.
And I feel very comfortable and confident in that. Do I think I'll never, ever do mediumship again? I would never say that. I mean, it's a beautiful gift. I was quite validated in a conversation I had with a gentleman from the UK who reached out to me to interview me. He has a podcast. His name is Robert Goodwin, and he has been doing mediumship for 45 years. And I talked with him when I was at the precipice of feeling enough empowerment within myself to say out loud, I'm not going to do mediumship anymore. I talked with him then. And then once I made that decision, I reached out to him and I asked him, could we just have a conversation? And he very generously gave me some of his time. And I just said, it doesn't bring me joy. It makes me nervous. I feel anxiety around it. And he goes, I do too. He said, you're being put under the microscope. I said, that's exactly what it feels like. And when I sat and I said to my guides, why are you bringing me these people who want mediumship? I don't like doing the mediumship. It was like a bell went off in my head. If you were to ask me right now, Trey, how do I decide whether I should do this or should I do that? My guides are going to say to you, follow the joy, follow the passion, what gets you excited about doing something. And I was dreading that. And I love doing the channeling. I love it. I mean, when I'm channeling, and I'm bringing through light language, and my angels are coming through, all of that. I mean, I'm flying high. And like I've explained, when I open to channel, I'm opening like this across timelines, dimensions, realms, and incarnations. When I'm trying to focus down on one personality, one little tiny personality, it's like pulling that energy in. And it's almost painful. And then you're trying to make them jump through hoops by giving me evidence.
Mm-hmm.
It is an important thing that is available to people now. I'm not dissing it at all because I wouldn't be here without it. I needed that evidence to convince myself that I wasn't crazy.
Sure.
But now that's just, I don't need it anymore. And because I can so easily recommend Very Soul is a beautiful website where people can get wonderful evidential mediums. And so it's available to people now. It's not a limited thing. So I don't have to feel guilty that if I don't do it, people can't get it because they can.
Sure. It was
So,
important, like to your point, it was important, important part of your path so that you
yeah,
were able to validate information that sets you up for the channeling, right? Or the
exactly.
channeling sets you up for this path to validate the mediumship so that you could have more faith in your channeling messages from your guide, right? So I think it's all very important,
It's
all
it,
important information because now you're doing more of the channeling and you can trust more of that information.
right. I can 100%. And I think that my experience as a young person and being in those churches and feeling the Holy Spirit in my heart, feeling that drawing forward, feeling that oneness and that just the love that would just make me cry. I mean, and it still does. That that is faith. That is knowing. That is the energy of knowing. I don't need evidence. I can feel it. When I'm channeling, I know it's of God. I know it's of higher energy because I feel it. And so that's my journey. That's my journey. There's no wrong journeys. There is absolutely no wrong journey. People need the evidence because it is reassuring and validating and it's wonderful. And there's nothing wrong with needing that. I'm not saying that you don't have faith if you do need it. I don't want anyone to misconstrue that. It's just it's a stepping stone on my personal journey, and that I'm choosing to do what feels the most exciting and passionate and joyful, because
Mm.
that's kind of it's kind of my thing. It's kind of what I try to teach. I'm teaching people to live their lives in a way that raises your frequency. It ties back to the law of attraction. We know we've all been studying the law of attraction for 20 years. We understand the concepts of it. My guides have taken it, and so have many other guides, not just mine. You listen to there is a theme coming through now that we're now ready for. We're ready for it. And what we're ready for is I can actually create completely my reality. I can create a version of Trey in my reality. I can create a version of my children in my reality. Up to this point, the law of attraction stopped. It said you cannot create for someone else, which is true, because you are going to create your own experience. And if you want to create crap and misery and struggle and all that stuff, you can. But my experience of you is going to be over here in my world where you're going to be joyful and happy.
Mm.
So all of it's true. There's nothing, and I know that's hard because people were born with these brains that are full of filters, and it makes it hard to understand some of this stuff. And it just is what it is, I guess.
It is what it is.
It is
Raising
what
that
it is.
vibration. Let's go.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go. Raise that vibration.
Yeah.
I get it's so important for me to remember that too, because like when you're vibing high, like things start to happen around you, like it's like another reality. when you're feeling low, 100% is different. You know, things are different. Things taste different. Like you're just experiencing a totally different reality.
Exactly right.
But the key is how can we live in those high states more often, right? Like, how does Kelly Bowker get into those states, right? And we touched on this last time in our live interview. Remind the folks, remind the people, like, how does Trey, like, vibe high and stay consistent with that vibration?
Well, one thing, the first thing they've just dropped into my head is let yourself off the hook. We're human and we're going to ride. We're going to ride the wave. There's no question. And the more we judge ourselves and beat up on ourselves when we fail, here I am, I've got a cold. The great manifestor's got a cold. Well, and before we started recording, I shared with you that I had a difficult situation. If the people that are following me on my YouTube channel, I created a video about it because I took a hit. I took a hit and I allowed the hit of two people's unpleasantness to take away my whole joyful evening. I was inside myself, uncomfortable, ill at ease. Last time I loved one of the greatest gifts that came from our live thing was how clear the guides gave us that whole thing about using our imagination for good or bad. Not bad, but you know what I mean. That has resonated around and around in my head because it's exactly right. So on this particular night, it was last Tuesday. And on that night, these two people were just snarky, hurt my feelings. Adult Kelly handled it. I did everything right. I got myself away and whatever, and then moved myself a little bit away without making a scene and stuff. My inner child was saying, nobody likes you. Nobody likes you. See, no one likes you. And so I'm inside and I'm turned right up. I am turned right up. See, yep, this is, you should have known better than get away from Michael because I let Michael be outside and I came inside and he's nobody messes with Kelly when Bowker's around, And all of this that I'm not powerful. I can't take care of myself. My little girl was going nuts and it ruined my whole friggin' night. And when I got home that night, I did do my work. I kept saying inside my head because I kept saying, sweetheart, it's okay. We're going to talk. It's going to be okay. Everything's going to be okay. But I was triggered. I was triggered in a big way. And so the next morning after I got Michael off to work, I did what I teach. I sat down and I said, baby doll, I need you to tell me what's going on. Tell me what you're feeling. And I let my little girl just tell me how hurt she was and that nobody liked her. No one liked her there. And I had settled into the energy of adult Kelly, that nice center energy. And adult Kelly was able to say, sweetheart, let's think about what we know is really true. Now, these two people over here, they were kind of grumpy. But remember talking to this one and laughing and how much fun you had? And remember talking to this one? This is the truth. You're making up in your mind that nobody liked you. It was just these two people down here. And it isn't that they didn't like you. They're just rotten to the core. So it don't matter. They're just rotten people. And basically, I had that talk. And then I had a wonderful epiphany because when I was going through my counseling and beginning to learn about inner child work, I listened to a beautiful podcast called
Your superior self.
Yes. Absolutely. Not at that time. This one was called The Adult Chair. In The Adult Chair, this woman talks about that we have the adult self, the teenage self, and the child's self. So as I was talking and making my little girl feel better, all of a sudden I got this wave of anger. And I had named my inner teenager Darcy. And I said, "Oh, Darcy, is that you?" And I got, "Yes." And I'm like, "Okay, so tell me what you need to tell me." They were effing very, I mean, she just went on a rant. She just ranted for a little while. And adult Kelly just listened. And then I was able to say, now we did handle it, honey. We handled it. People are going to be people. We didn't allow them to continue to be unpleasant to us. We got away from the situation. So I just talked her down out of the tree too. That is an important piece of work. And once I did that, you know how when you think of an unpleasant situation and you get that in your chest,
Mhm.
It went away.
Mm.
Once I let my inner child and my inner teenager vent, and I gave them lots of love, and I listened and I validated them, then they were able to be okay. And once they were okay, then I could settle back into adult Kelly, and adult Kelly's fine, you
Sure.
know.
You know,
And
I
that it,
resonate with that 100%. It's happened to me recently. The inner child work, the parts therapy that you're talking about, allowing the younger self to come up and voice their opinion because they're always there. I mean,
they're always
they're
there.
always
They're
there.
always there.
I
My guides have me explain this continuum where the center point is neutral. It's like a theory. They say, explain it like a theory. The center point is neutral. The center point could be thought of as our adult self or our connection to source when we're actually connected to that fifth dimension perspective of neutrality, when we can just observe. That's the center spot. Everything on both ends, the joy, the wonder, the awe, and the grump and whatever, that's all our inner child. All of the emotional continuum is our inner child. And so engage with your inner child when she's or he is excited and happy. Validate that, engage with them. Say to that part of yourself, oh my gosh, this is fun. Isn't this exciting? I can't believe we get to do this. This is awesome. That's going to make it even easier to engage with them when they're not okay.
Mhm.
For us to then say, baby, you're not okay. And I loved Tara Arnold did a beautiful thing that I have said this many, many times. She channels Saint Germain, and Saint Germain brought through a process that was about creating a safe space in your heart. So when you're out and about, you can say, honey, go into your safe space. I got this. I've got this. And you shift into that adult space, and the inner child is protected. And that's a very helpful thing. But I didn't remember to do it
Sure.
Tuesday. I got too, everyone is so kind to me and sweet most of the time that it really took the rug out from underneath me when
But
those
here's the
people.
thing, Kelly. If people were kind to you all the time, you wouldn't grow.
That's exactly right.
You
That's
know,
exactly right. I do know that.
even the
That
ones that we grind our gears. Oh,
mm,
there's a couple of them this week, right, that I've experienced. And just think about this for a second. Like, what if they signed up for that because of the love they have for you, right? I'm going to be the dickhead that's going to come in and ruin your day and write some nasty comments on your YouTube channel and that don't make sense. Like I feel like, and the inner child pops up and it just shows us like it opens our hearts. Like,
that's right.
what if they're like the most mature spiritual teacher out there that is just trying to show us our wounds that we haven't healed yet, right? Like that's how
Pray
it's
that
very hard to understand that in the moment, but when you can look at it objectively, when you kind of heal that part of yourself, then you can kind of see how they connect.
you can. The heart, because what you just spoke is one of the most difficult knowings that my guides have given me. And that is that these people who are the dickheads and are difficult or are the murderers and the rapists and the thieves and the awful people, those people come from pure positive energy, and they had agreements with us. You know, that is a hard thing. It's a hard pill to swallow, but when you get it, it is so much easier to not be affected by them because you're able to say what you just said. They they have, out of love, they lowered their energy to a point and chose the life that they chose with the challenges that they have to interact with the world the way they interact, to give the rest of us the opportunities to grow and to love unconditionally. And we can love unconditionally without liking. We can love unconditionally without condoning and accepting. We don't any of that stuff, but we can love unconditionally. We can love with the love of God that is shines on everything always. And that's the goal. That is the thing that we're trying to get to.
Sure.
But I really like sharing stories like the Tuesday night thing, or you with your people commenting. I've had those bad comments too. because we are not, the object of the game is not to get to a place where nothing affects us, because we might as well be in heaven then.
Mm-hmm.
No, I mean, we came down here to learn. Are we ever going to get done learning? One day I had a meditation, and I had a glimpse, that fifth dimensional glimpse of what life would be like from that perspective. I just had a moment in time that I was there in meditation. And I came out of it and I said, what's going to happen when I can be there all the time? Am I going to just poof and go back to, take my headset off, my headset off in the game room, and I'm done this round of the game of life? Is that, and I don't want to do that because I want to grow old with Michael. So I want to make sure, because I'm not going to try anymore if it's going to mean I'm checking out. And they said, no, they said, you get to live with all the magic. When you get to that place and you can truly see it all through those eyes, it isn't that our life is going to be done. We're going to then be able to just live our life using all that we are, the magic that we all are, all the
Mm-hmm.
gifts that we all have. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, how cool is that?
That
It's
is
great.
cool.
It's fun to think
Your
about.
guides are so smart. Who are they? Like, where are they? I know they're a group, right?
There's nothing that they're not.
Ooh, I
That would
like
be a better answer.
I
That
like
just,
that.
yeah,
But they go
that's
by name, right? But they go by name just for you, right? Just to
my,
have.
when I had been watching some YouTube videos about connecting to your guides prior to trying to channel, and they always would say, ask them the name and see what you get for a name. And I did. I asked that very first time. I asked them and I got a name. And they told me Lacrosse, and Lacrosse represents to me the cross. Now it took me 8 months to put that all together and realize that that's what they, because when I was a little girl, I had this cross that was about 3 inches tall. And when I would be getting ready to go to bed and I would be scared, I was left home alone a lot. And if I was scared, I would hold my cross, and that's how I'd go to sleep, as I would hold it, talk about clinging to the old rugged cross. That's what Kelly did to sleep. And I held that cross, and I've always said that initial energy was that beautiful, loving, familiar energy. I rarely refer to my guides as Lacrosse anymore. Do I know Lacrosse is always with me? Yes, always here. But now when you ask a question and I open, it is like I'm a receiver, and there's a switchboard up there, and they're listening to the question, and they're, okay, we want a little Pleiadian, we want a little Arcturian, we want a little angel, we want a little this, and whoosh, it all comes down through Kelly.
Well, I was going to ask you, right? It's funny you mentioned all of that, right? I have, a little knowledge of what some of that means when you're talking about star seeds and Atlanteans, right? But is that light language associated? Is that like an ancient language that is being brought through you to speak to us, right? Like, to raise our vibration? Like, what exactly is light language?
When light language came through, the only English words that came through in that download was so that I can speak to my brothers and sisters. And I freaked out.
What does that mean? Are you talking about us?
No, it meant my brothers and sisters from different planets that speak other languages. And I kind of knew that's what it meant, and that's what freaked me out. So I didn't want to talk to him, and I didn't talk to him. I folded my arms over my chest, and I didn't talk to him for a week after the light language came in. I really did. I pouted. I was overwhelmed. It was a tremendous amount of energy. The Lacrosse energy was just loving and gentle and easy. And then when that big wave of energy, and when that wave of energy came through, I was scared. And I remember being in my mind going, I'm scared, I'm scared, I'm scared. And I heard my guides pulled around me. I felt their energy, except right down my front. Right down my front stayed open, and they just held me. I was laying down. They held me right around. And this all you got to understand is telepathy. So it isn't linear, but I'm scared. And they said, then stop. And I said, but is this for my highest good? And they said, yes. And I said, then just don't leave me. And they said, we never leave you. And so I let it just rolled, and my hands were going and my mouth was going all the time that this conversation was going on in my head. I'm doing light language with the hand gestures, and it's coming through. And then the words, so I can speak with my brothers and sisters, came through. And I'm like, well, what the hell does that mean? Because I didn't know anything about any kind of anything about aliens. I like most people on the planet that is not completely hubris, I would be able to sit and look out at my stars and say, there is no way that with the infinite power that God has, and scientists have told us that there are infinite number of galaxies and star systems and all that stuff. There's one planet with sentient beings on it. Makes no sense at all. That makes no sense. But now an actual experience of it? No, I had none. Didn't want any. And so I think this might be part of what my third book will be about, because I think that they have been so slow and gentle. Do I believe that they have been part of my guides right from the beginning? Absolutely. Right from the beginning. I think they're part of all of our experiences, right? All the time. I think that they are part of the nudges, part of the gut feeling, part of the, all of that is a mixture. Okay, I want to make good sense of this. So they brought me along gently, they'd drop a little Dolores Cannon into my experience, and then they'd drop a little bit of that guy, I can't think of his name, Dr. Greer, I think, and I would just kind of listen, but then I just wouldn't think too much about it because it was overwhelming. It was too much. I have gone from that to being completely comfortable. I actually think that a gray was standing at the end of my bed that in the last month. It was a little startling, I'm not going to lie, but and like I told you, I was taking a video of my granddaughter and I see all these orbs just playing around it, and I'm like, oh my Lanta, this is so cool. I'm open to it all. I'm open to it all because far be it for me to limit the magnificence that is this world and this beyond that we have. Yeah, I don't know where to go from there.
let's get into some channeling. I have some questions that I would love to ask your guides or our guides and see what comes up.
Let's do it. Yarako no omanina katiyazako orakaya tina anakumana adiar katiyarako so kotarkiama na niana katiyar katoto. Ariata kumanana ayana kozar kiar katoto okata ar kiar katatar kumanana. Azi karakatara katuzo maniana katara konono mana niana kia. Ground your energies, dear ones. Ayaza kiar kototo manani yana kia tarakiana na ko o katiar ko mazia katari kiana okotata. We would take your questions.
Are we currently living in a simulation or a dream?
There are many schools of thought, shall we say, about such matters. Your science can show you that matter is all moving. There are, even in your limited technologies, the abilities in your world to look through what you would call solid matter. That's one has to be able to observe. And so we would say to you, what does it actually matter? There is that is a benefit to humans as they think about their reality. And if they can reflect that open-mindedness, their experience of this world is going to be much improved. So we would say, as a simple answer to your question, that it doesn't really matter.
Okay. How do I create my future in the present moment?
That is a subject that we love to speak about because that is a great thread of teaching that we are bringing through this work. When you live in the present moment and you are looking forward with wonder and joy and expectation, knowing that there are beings at work for your greatest good, not having to know the nuts and bolts of it all, but just being open with that wonderful expectation. That is what will create the magnificent life that you desire to have. And as we say and have said for years through many, many, such as this one, that when you can live in your present moment with that high frequency, that high vibration, isn't your life an enjoyable thing? What is the price you are paying? You are paying the price of joy. So tending to the frequency of your present moment is absolutely the object of the game.
Hmm. What exactly is free will?
When you decided to take a turn on the merry-go-round of Earth, there were things that you had to agree to, things that created the unique experience of manifesting as a human on planet Earth. And free will is one of those things. Having the ability to decide in any given moment what you choose, that you are not going to be dictated to, that you are going to live from your present moment, making your decisions as you choose, and living the life of creating the frequency that would allow you to choose the highest and the highest that will give you the life that you want. So free will is you being able to choose, and you can choose misery if you want to. You can choose catastrophic events. You can choose all kinds of things, and utilizing them in any present moment, you have free will. Do you choose to adjust your frequency higher, or do you choose to adjust your frequency lower? That is free will. And when you take control of your will and you consciously are adjusting your frequency in any given moment, in the given moment when the nasty response was under your YouTube video, or the given moment when Kelly's feelings were hurt, in every given moment, you have free will. And it is how you decide to exercise it. And the more often that you exercise it to let go of that which does not resonate with who you are, and know that everyone is on their own path and they're all doing exactly what they're supposed to be doing at any given time. They're all exercising their own free will. And if you can turn your face, Kelly talking about throwing it in the moat and jumping into her sandboxes, whatever you can do in the present moment with your free will, it's the free will that makes you jump into the sandbox or not. It's your free will that Blessed Kelly was sad the rest of her evening. She gave up the rest of her fun night to these unpleasant people. That was her free will. But she did the work as you have done. And so the next time you begin to read one of those comments, perhaps you won't bother read the whole thing, because everyone has their choice. Everyone can express it as however they want. Let it just be.
Kelly talked a little bit about doing some inner child work and how the adult Kelly can affect the young child that was Kelly. Can our future selves interact with the present now self?
Wonderful question. Tiara kioro koma ania na ki katatoro koma zikiri kiara koto oto orakamana ari kia tatari kia se koto o tatari kia manta tiara katatoro koma ta. The answer to this question boils down to the understanding of time. There is no linear time. All time is now. And in any given moment, where you are resonating affects across all timelines, dimensions, realms, and incarnations. That is also true for what you, with the way your brain is wired to think, would think about your future self. So you in this moment, when you settle into your heart and you breathe a breath and you send joy and love into the ether, you are indeed affecting across timelines in that direction and in that direction. We use these terms for your human mind. There is no direction. It all is now. So all moments affect all moments. When you put the pebble in the still pond and you watch the ripples go out and out and out, that is very much representative of how your emotional frequency has an effect. So we would bring to you at this time that when you are in the grump or the incarnation that is the perpetrator of the atrocities, would you then ask, is the energy of that incarnation affecting all your incarnations? And we would say, indeed, yes. This isn't quite as much fun to think about. We understand. But we want you to wrap your mind around. Again, it's the free will. In this incarnation, you get up in the morning, you set your intention for love and light. You set your intention to be the highest level, the highest version of yourself you can be in this moment. And you clean your chakra system and you balance your chakra system, and those waves that might be negative and have a negative effect because your energy is so balanced and so clean and resonating at such a high level, bounce right away and you're not affected. When we are sending out that high energy at any given moment, any incarnation through their free will, if they are in a moment of reaching and saying, please, God, help me in this moment, then those beautiful resonant vibrations will come in and help them. If they are steadfast in their free will of being as negative can be, sadly, it will bounce off and not have an effect. But that is how the incarnations do all interact. Wow, that's new. Wow. I wish I could show you the pictures in my head when they're explaining things. It's really incredible.
Can you draw them?
No. I'm going to spend time with a dear friend coming up, and she's an artist, and I do have some things like that. They've given me this magical breath, and I see it in my mind, and I'm going to see if I can get her to draw it. We'll see.
Can they explain? Yeah. Can we explain? Can they explain like what happens to us when we die from this physical reality? Like, what do we experience?
It is important to know that you will merge back to the beautiful, pure, positive energy that is your higher self, which is part of the all. There are different experiences that are described in what you refer to as near-death experiences, because humans have great expectation and belief about what they will encounter on the other side. But we would just tell you that you will merge back with pure positive energy. There might be some experiences between the death experience and that level of knowing, as has been explained by many, many different people who've experienced these kinds of things. None of that is not true. It is all true because you are magnificent creators. And if you have lived your life believing that you are going to be met by Jesus and see the golden streets and all of that, then that will be your experience until that's no longer needed. If you live your life believing you are going to burn in hell, you may have an experience that seems like that for a bit of time, but it will only be a very small amount of time until you realize that you can let go of those beliefs and merge with the all that is available to you. There is no time, dear one. So there is no big prolonged suffering that is going to happen. It is only instantaneous knowing that happens on the other side. It is trying to put into words and concepts that the human, with their linear time and their in space and their understandings, to be able to understand. And that makes it very, very difficult. But what we would say to you is that when you have lived your life striving with love in your heart, you will be met with love. All people are met with love, even those who cannot feel it when they cross. It is there for them. They just don't feel it for a time until they can. But it's there. But it's there.
How do we strengthen that inner reality where we create in the future?
Letting go of the word future would be a good step to start. There is no future, it is only now. So strengthen your now. Strengthen the joy in your heart right now. Strengthen the love that you feel for humanity and our beautiful world and all the worlds that are out there. Strengthen that now. That will create the future that you desire. Yeah, they're nudging me. I wrote something down this morning, and that I'm definitely blended. I want to read this to you.
Sure.
Okay, it was on Next Level Soul, and it was Dr. Lisa Miller. And she says, when we want something, it is only based on the information from today backwards. So when you are sitting and you're thinking about this future that you think that you want, it's all based on old news. It's old news. So that's that feeling that they're trying to, through me, to express to the world, that potential, that anticipation. I don't need to know what it's going to look like. I don't need to know where it's going to be. I just know that there are all of the tinker toys in the universe are coming together for me, for my highest good, for my greatest joy. And I just keep watching. And so to answer that question, Trey, it is letting go of the it and settle into the beingness. the knowingness, the whatever little games you play in your head, they don't need to be that specific. You don't need to let them be that specific. Just know that it's wonder, because you can't picture it. The angels are working for you, but you have free will. So if you put, I want this and this and this, it limits them. I want it all. I want joy. I want laughter. I want love. I want to dance. That's the energy of it. Put the energy of it out there and let them, because they can come up with stuff you can't come up with. But with your free will, if you keep that focus on, like if I kept that focus on, I'm not going to be happy until I'm on next level soul, I'm going to be miserable. I just want to be open. I'm open. I'm an open door. I'm an open door, an open heart, an open vessel. Learning to live like that is going to shore up your future. That is the power that you have. That is the strength of your power right there.
I don't think we realize the power that we have inside of us, right? We hear it. Oh, you have the power of the universe inside of you. But even hearing that is conceptual, right? Like it's not even experiential. It's just like conceptual. I think until we can kind of take a step back and actually look at what we've done, like by our choices alone, and how the reality manifests itself from our choice, the free will to make a choice and then to experience that result is creation.
Exactly right. And there's no wrong. Any experience, you came here to experience. You are expanding the universe by your experience. That is why we are here, to expand. And so, okay, you trip and fall, you skin your knee. You get up, you put a Band-Aid on it, and you do it again. And you keep doing it till you learn something different.
Sure.
And so we're all on a path of learning, not judging yesterday, not judging that supper I was at, not judging the reaction that you had when you read the negative thing. Being able to just being able to look at your toolbox and know I have tools. And today I'm able to pick this one up. Tomorrow I'll be able to pick that one up. We have tools, we practice with our tools, and then we see the result. If I'm going to clean this whole ginormous floor with a toothbrush, well, I can do that. And I can get done, and I can look back at a job well done, and I can say, yeah, by golly, it's a clean floor now. But geez, if I'd used that great big mop, it would have been a hell of a lot quicker. It's all about doing it, seeing the result. I think of what Lorna said, about when the angels give us signs. Don't dissect them, revel in them. Why do we have to have some kind of proof that I saw the orbs in my little video that I took? I don't. I saw them. It grabbed my heart and took my heart into this place of wonder. What more do you need?
Sure.
That's why I said on my I did a YouTube video about the experience with you introducing me to Alex. I don't know that the experience could be better than that moment in time when I read that email. I had such awe. I mean, I sat on this couch and sobbed for 10 minutes. I just sobbed with the glory and the wonder of how the world works and how magnificent it is. That's pretty darn awesome. I don't know if the real thing will be any more awesome than that. It might be as awesome, that'd be great, but it may not be any more. But why not revel in that feeling?
Because we've been told our entire lives it's not real. Like the imagination is not real, right? Like I've grown up, right? Stop daydreaming, Trey. Stop living in. That's not real. It's fiction. It's it comes out of somebody's imagination. But the experience of that is real for the experiencer. Like for that
Right.
introduction for you to Alex was real.
That's right.
Or, and if it never happens, it is what it is. But you've
It's
had
just
an experience of like something that I tried to
that
surprise you, by the way. I'm just saying, like, I tried to surprise you and, like,
it
I
was
wanted to
awesome.
take care of you. I wanted to give you an experience, right?
That was very, very sweet. And it was completely a surprise. It really was completely a surprise. There's no question.
But to your point, I think we all kind of live in those realities where we experience the thrill of something, but that one moment will never measure up to the actual thing, right? And then we're disappointed. But I think being conscious when we're in those moments of joy and gratification, and like saying to ourselves, man, like, do I need anything physical from this? Like, this right here, this moment, living in that moment, being aware of the moment, and just realizing what it's doing for me vibrationally, and how it's raising my consciousness, how it's making me realize all the steps that I've taken to get to this moment is the gift. There's so many gifts that we overlook, even,
Exactly.
because we
Yep.
put different
Because,
interpretations on it.
right.
We make
But
expectations.
we've been raised by people doing the best that they could with what they had to work with. There's no judgment in it. But our world is a concrete, knock on wood kind of world. But what we're now being drawn to, and our guides are pulling us to, is a knowing of the moreness, that there is a whole other world at our disposal. There are powers at play that we can utilize in our world. And sadly, the biggest tools have been pounded out of us as a little kid, and that's just the reality of life. That's simply the reality of life. I've got beautiful mothers in my life. My daughter and my daughter-in-law are both beautiful, beautiful mothers. And we went camping Memorial Day, and I watched my daughter-in-law. I've got now we a little 2-year-old, and he's going to run out into where the traffic can be. And she says to him, Macklin, if you go off the grass, mommy's going to have to put you in a timeout. You can't go off the grass. And she, very loving and kind, showed him exactly what she was talking about. Well, of course, he being a 2-year-old, he goes charging for the swing set, which took him across the road, which is dangerous. So she goes and gets him with all love and joy and sweetness, puts him in the camper, closes the door, and just holds the door shut, but turns herself away. So she's just giving him a little bit of a timeout. That's perfectly, read a damn parenting book. That's the greatest way to go about it. But now let's put spirit into this. What actually did she do? She took away her love and attention because of what he did, his actions. Now, she's just being a good mom. So even the very best moms are going to train their children. We are afraid. We can't, even, there's no way I'm going to trust that my faith is going to keep my granddaughter from knocking herself over in the chair. I'm going to jump and grab the damn chair if she starts tipping in it. I'm not going to believe that nothing's going to happen because I'm afraid that it's going to. And because of that reality and that fear, it's likely to. So we're training our children, and how do we not? Which makes me go like this and step back and say, is this not part of the whole plan? It's part of the whole plan that we are trained by our loving parents to whatever degree we can be, some loving, some not. I know all that. But even in the best scenarios, we are trained to think that what we do either gets us joy or gets us ugly or whatever. It's what we do. It isn't what we be. You following what I
Mm-hmm.
mean?
Mm-hmm.
So if I be sweet and cute and whatever, mommy and daddy are happy. But if I do what I want to do, which is run over to that swing set, mommy and daddy are mad. So what I do gets the reaction from the people around me, and that trains us to believe that we are what we do, and it is nothing about what we do. It's what we be. It is nothing about what we do.
Mm-hmm.
It is how we be. And you said when we did our live thing, you said, well, does that give us like a get out of jail free card to do every rotten thing we ever want to. You wouldn't want to. If your heart is vibrating like this, there's nothing in that heart that would make anybody want to do something mean. That just it doesn't resonate. It's not on the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
So
Kelly Bowker coming in strong, coming in hot, sick, under the weather, healing her own stuff,
schnozzy,
snazzy, and being.
Gotta just be, just
Gotta
gotta
be.
just be in this life, and I am loving right now. I'm really having some good time of stepping back and saying, you know, and that's what we all should do. What do I want to be today? Isn't that a fun thing to just ask yourself? What do I want to be today? I'm not going to say, what do I want to do? What do I want to be?
Sure.
And the doing will fall into place.
Love it. How can people connect with you?
I still don't have a website. That's the next thing I'm conjuring. I do have Kelly Bowker channel is my Facebook page. I have a YouTube channel called Present Moment Magic. And at the end of most of my videos, I put contact information. My email address is kellybowker7@gmail.com. Anybody is welcome to email me at any time. All of those things have a place if you wanted to set something up to do a one-to-one with me. People do enjoy doing that, and I enjoy it as well. So it's fun.
Kelly, I can't thank you enough for joining me again on this wild ride. Thank you so much.
I love it. I love it, Trey. It's been just a joy.